Welcome back, everyone, to New American Youth Ballet Presents. I'm your host, Elizabeth Flores. I am so excited to be here with the great Carlos Lopez from American Ballet Theater. And also recently, I've learned all about this online platform, Dancio, and you can find his classes there. So thank you so much for joining us, Carlos.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's exciting reading about just everything you've done and also some of the wonderful press you've received with your work online during the pandemic. What was it? Would it be March 15th? Everything?
March, 13, 15, around that weekend.
Yeah. And for ABT, for those of you who are not professional dancers, daily class is it's like brushing your teeth. You've got to do it if you've got shows coming up and just for your daily ritual. So when everything ended and the dancers couldn't get into the studio, what was that like, and how did you manage?
Like a lot of uncertainties because we didn't know what was going to happen, and the company was preparing itself for a lot of performances. We were going to Chicago. We were going to doing a lot of touring with many different programs. So we were in like 150% of like work and physicality and all that. And suddenly they sent us home like on a Friday. And they were like, just go home, stay there. We really didn't know what was happening, obviously, like everybody else. And I just said to some dancers, I'm like, why don't we do this during the weekend? I said, like, why don't we try? I offer myself to teach you class. We go to a studio, and I'll just teach class. It doesn't matter. But then, obviously, the next day, this was on a Saturday, they closed all the studios. So I remember having tried this app called Zoom the year before in 2018 with a school that I usually teach, and a dance company in St. Paul School in New Hampshire. And we did kind of like a tryout of like me teaching from one of the ABT studios, and they were taking the class in New Hampshire.
Oh,
And so it was fun. We did the class. We tried to manage, but I was like, okay, this is wonderful. We don't think it's gonna go anywhere, but at least we tried the class. But then obviously, once this pandemic hit and the company sent us home, I was like, okay, why don't we try to do just one class? And I remember it was like three principal dancers, and they were all in the pajamas. And
yeah.
I was in my bedroom, and we're trying the music, and the music is loud, but it felt so refreshing, just to be able finally to see each other, even though it was the day after, but we were able to see each other, we were able to sweat a little bit, and
Yeah.
most important, to get a little bit of the fear and the frustration out of our bodies by exercising. So then the word got out, and I was like, okay, why don't we do it on Monday? And then Monday was like 15 people, and then 40 dancers, and then it just escalated. And I remember the first times, the first days, the first week, we spent like 45 minutes really talking. And what are you doing? And what's happening in here? The subway, this is happening. They're closing this. So it was a lot of chatting, a lot of where are you now? Mostly checking on each other, checking on what's happening. And then, yes, we did the class. It was so much fun. We started getting to our routine. It was like, it became like our kind of like a safe space for like talk to each other, check on each other, but also to like I said, sweat and do what we used to, what the dancers are used to, which is like, for me, we'll be prepared the class, like half an hour in the morning. Okay, I will have to wake up, because everybody's situation was different. And it depends on the part of the country that you were. Or for us, most of us, we were like in small apartments in New York. At least you were like very, privileged. But we were all in small places and trying to just cope with all this craziness that was going around us. So we will find that 2 hours of the day that we all got together, we all sweat, we all connect, and they just felt that although the news were coming all along, that they were not very good news, we were still like, pushing and just keeping our positive and our hearts a little more together. So
yes. And what was the biggest class you taught online? Like, what was the biggest number you've had at a time?
Well, the thing is that I kept it a lot for the company through Zoom. There were, of course, these blew out, and and I did a few Instagram classes. That was quite challenging, but also it was helpful because we suddenly, when the New York Times came home and started did an article and the New Yorker and then the TV and then an Apple commercial, everything started blowing a lot, and everybody wanted me to open the classes. Some platforms did it. I was a little more hesitant. First of all, because since day one, I I never stopped. So I did like 30 classes back to back for the first month, like by myself. It was wonderful. I mean, I have to say the best that we could do. And right now, like even videos pop because with Instagram and all this Facebook, a lot of things comes like, remember this memory, and I'm like,
Right. Because you're known as a pioneer now. Like, did you expect all this press? You had what? National Geographic, New York
oh my
Times,
God, yes.
Apple. I was reading this. Did it surprise you? You were just doing this.
Oh, of course I did a surprise. Of course I did. It did surprise me. Yes, yes. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting it. Even I wasn't even taking it in because it was all in the midst of this chaos. So I
right.
was like, I wasn't able. It was I was even by myself with my roommate, and but it was all this was happening. But I was still in my. I remember the New York Times press coming home and taking the photos, and the woman with the mask and the goggles, and I was like, oh wow, this is not happening. But
Strange, surreal experience.
at the same time as I was like fighting to make all these classes and all this happening, it was a nice gesture to see that not only the dancers were appreciating, although the world outside was also acknowledging that we were trying to do something to just get on with our lives and just keep moving, which is what I needed.
Yes. Um, you have an amazing career of accomplishments. What are you most proud of?
Um, I think what I'm most proud of is it's like to be able to maintain through all these years, after 25 years dancing, and then now what I've been coaching, just to keep the passion and to be still like um, trying to fix things in the world of dance, in
Yes.
ballet, even trying to help dancers. I'm proud of like being able to like still have that fire inside of me that makes me, wake up in the morning. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to work, but then once I'm there, I'm still inspired, and I'm still like, and, I can still get emotional, and I still wants to fix things, and so yes,
Well,
the
it's not every
achievements.
person that gets up and records a fondue combination at 8 a.m. I'm like, wow.
I do that sometimes.
He's
Trust me.
hardcore.
Sometimes I'm on the subway and I'm like doing it with
That's
my hands
awesome.
like this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's something to be proud, but at least I'm really happy to still have that internal like fire that it makes me
Yeah.
passion. It's a word that I've been using lately because I was choreographing recently, and I asked the dancer, I was like, you just have to have a lot of passion for what you do, and that will transfer into like work and transfer into discipline, but you need to want to do something.
Right.
Um,
This
and
field,
I've,
this field is hard. If you don't love it, it's not going to go well.
you gotta love it. I mean, yes, there's like through these all these years and through all this career, you find a lot of different um, people individuals that they love it, and they love it, and sometimes it's funny, this is a question that I've been asked a lot. It's like, oh, do you love dancing, do you love your work? And I'm like, yes, but I love it, but a lot of times it's a work.
Yes.
There are certain times that you're like have to think about it, okay, because it's a work that you still have to wake up 8 a.m., go to take class, and then rehearse for 7 or 8 hours, and then sometimes do the performance. Oh yeah, of course, there are certain times in a dancer's or in a director of repertoire career that you don't love it that much, but it's a work, and you treat it like that, and you treat it with respect and with discipline, and then you find the love again. And if not, you just it lasts. You don't have to be all your life wanting to do something. You can move and change careers and do other things that still involve the arts. Not unfortunately, as a dancer, your body dictates a lot of your career and has to do a lot with emotional being. You have to do with the physical being and the injuries and things like that.
Yes. Well, the thing is talking about having a love for it and passion. I can't say for sure, but I would imagine the pandemic burnt out a lot of teachers. Um, I did a lot of online classes, and there are days where it feels like your obligation to keep the morale up, to keep people happy. And when they're all muted, it's a very lonely, odd experience. Susu up, open, and finish. Now, I know we've had this discussion before about high fifth. So I'm going to tell you what high fifth is not. It is not a lemon. It is not a hamburger. It's not a heart. And it's not a sea of fingers. Okay? This is what it is not.
It's a windmill.
It's not a windmill. Okay, right. No, please control yourself. So it's here. If you were to frame your face, okay, you want to draw like an imaginary oval. And the hands are placed on it. If the hands are too far back, it's going to throw off your placement. You want them a little bit in front. So if you're going to look up with just your eyes, not your head, but your eyes, you should be able to see your fingers. On Zoom, it's a strange, I've had students who just broke down crying, and sometimes it took me some time to even know that because I can't hear them, and I can't always, they're standing too far back. So to have that energy and fire after you've done so many of these classes, it really is a tribute to you as a teacher and an artist that you love it that much, because it's not easy, and online is its own strange
Yes.
way. It is different. Has it changed you and shaped you as a teacher that you've done so many of these online classes?
Yes. I mean, obviously it has, it's another learning tool. It's another tool that we can use for us. As a director of repertoire, we spend a lot of our hours and a lot of days, and even as a dancer, watching videos and learning the steps from videos. So sometimes watching visually, you can read very well the movements of a professional, of a dancer, and really see very clear if that's correctly done or it's not correctly done. Sometimes when you're physically present, you're involved with the whole room, and sometimes you miss those little details
That's
because
true.
one on one you cannot see it. But as in a video, sometimes the picture is very clear. When you see a foot that is not turn in and turn out, you
Yeah.
really see it, and you can really point out to dancers like, oh, really, just the posture, your line is not well. And in the video, it's especially now with all these cameras that we have, you really can see it very well.
And I guess you're also very good at watching a video and knowing, because some people, they get very lost. You watch a video, you're trying to figure out where's stage right, where's stage left, where are they coming from, which foot are they starting on? Sometimes
Yes.
it can be very confusing to people. So you've already been in this world a lot. So
Yeah, I have to say that I have to thank, I guess I have to thank my former director when I was a very young student, because he will give us a VHS tape, which those ones, trust me, those ones, if you're learning something, those ones really hard to to go forward and back and
yes.
go. And I remember like breaking a lot of them, just trying to go forward and back, very slow motion to like. And so then the way that he's like, oh, you need to learn this part, so we'll go with the VHS, and then we'll write it down because of course you will forget and you wouldn't have your phone because we didn't have phones. So
Right.
then we'll have to go to the studio and look at my notes. So even as a just starting that as a very young age, it makes you really aware of like who is coming from this side is the left side, or
Yeah.
it gets,
So
you
you
have to.
began training for this position from your
I guess
teacher.
so. I guess so. Who knew?
How were you chosen for this position at ABT? How did that come?
So so when I was so after I finished stop dancing with the American Ballet Theater in the company, I took like 2 or 3 years freelancing. So I went to Puerto Rico and I danced for Ballet Concierto Puerto Rico for like 6 months. Then I did some shows in Japan. So I did a few freelancing, and then I joined I took the training, the national training curriculum that ABT has to form teachers. Because for me, it's very funny. I've always thought that when I was dancing, if I will start teaching, it will move my career to a different focus. Like I
You
didn't
didn't
think.
want
I
to do it
guess I
at the
was like,
same time.
I was like very like ballet, 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 ballet. I didn't think I could do other things like teaching at the same time as I was
Okay.
dancing. So I kept it very focused. I was like, oh no, this is not gonna help me, no, no, no. But anyway, in this moment that I was like freelancing, I'm like, I had a lot of time off. I took the training curriculum for teachers that ABT offers. And right away, while I finished the training, Kate Lydon was the director of the ADT studio company. So she invited me to teach the studio company. So I started teaching a few classes for them. Then she asked me to be a little director of repertoire in that time. So I started a little bit, a few hours while I was dancing, while I was freelancing.
What
And
was the
then
first ballet they asked you to do?
so we did, she asked me to restage a little bit of Corsair. We did a suite for a studio company. So I've
Wow.
done Corsair many times. So we put together like the grandpa and the slave, Padre de, and the Lankeden, Padre de. So all a little mix. But I was still dancing. So it was like partial time.
Yes.
So then we did a ballet by George Williamson. What was it? What was the name? Murmuration. And
Okay.
Kevin saw that ballet. So then 2016, that was 3 years after Studio Company. Kevin, I went to see a show at Romeo and Juliet with the company. And during the first and the second act, Kevin was like, can you come with me to the green room, which is where we have like conversations at the Met. It's like I've seen the work that you've done with the studio company. I saw what you did with this piece of murmuration when I saw it before, and now that you've been working with it, how it looks, and I just want to offer you the position of ballet master at the time. And I was
Wow.
like, um, okay. I was like, can you? I was like, I didn't say yes right away. I was like, can you give me? He's like, yeah, take some time. So I remember I went to the house and I watched the second act of Romeo and Juliet, and I was like sitting there, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're asking me to be working again with this company, like putting these things together.
Yes.
I was speechless. I was like,
Was it a delayed reaction?
it was
That's
a delayed
that's a pretty
reaction.
wow moment in someone's career. I mean,
Yes,
that's
I
huge.
remember after the second act, I went to Kevin and I was like, yes, I want, I'm doing it.
Nice.
But also there was the delay. It was a little bit, because I was very conscious about my dancing career, and I knew very well that in the moment that I will be asked, if I was asked, in the moment that I was asked about this position, my dancing career, I will have to stop dancing for sure. There was a delay that it was intermission. Obviously, it was 15 minutes. All this conversation was happening in 15 minutes. So I'm
Wow.
like, wait a minute. This means I need to actually stop dancing because it's a 7 hour work plus the preparation. So I'm like, but I mean, of course, in the moment that I put it together, balance, I'm like, age, and I'm like, why not? Of course, it's just it. Not everybody being asked about this all the time, and there's not that many positions of director of repertoire in the company. So I was
Oh,
like,
that's amazing. And what a company, to have your
yeah,
career there and then come back and do something like this. And you also must have a very good, everyone I speak to about you just smiles and says, what a wonderful person you are to work with. And I think that's some of the joy and why a lot of people just love American Ballet Theater is you kind of feel like you can go and be the artist you're meant to be. And you must have a great rapport with the company because it's a lot of high level artists
I
and probably
love.
a lot of egos and everything else to balance and to work with. So
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think for me, I really love working with people. I really believe in the power of working together towards something.
yeah,
I think yes, back in the day, many art forms like ballet, it was very individual. I know the stakes are really high, and obviously you find what they used to call the stars. But I think we all human beings. If you separate it, like what is the artist from the person, we all human beings. No matter what your principal dancer, you're a soloist, you're a corps de ballet, you are not a star, what they consider a star. At the end of the day, we all go through feelings and nervousness and excitement and fear and horror. I mean, we all go through these feelings. So um, I just try to I just like to try people to treat people like people like that like just human beings. And
That's rare in this field. For
it
people who
is
don't
rare.
understand,
I mean, I guess
like a lot
obviously
of times
also,
dancers are not treated like people.
yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
even you know, unfortunately we come from many generations of dancers being trying to like, you know, being pushed and being like really by teachers, you know,
Like
because
a
the way it's
racehorse.
being done before, you just translate and translate and translate,
Right.
and there are ways and ways to do things, and you can achieve the same by not being so harsh or so demanding of, or having a little bit you know, as I think we all the studies and everything that we're working with, mental awareness and all these psychological problems in every field and every profession in every sports, so we have to put it into use. And even when I was young and I was a dancer and I was, there were moments that I could feel that we were not being treated correctly. There was something in me that, without knowing what it was mental awareness or what it was like psychological problems, I knew, I felt there was something wrong,
Yeah.
that there was something that it was not right, or there was something that it was not correctly expressed to us.
Yes.
So once I started my career as a teacher, I took it very seriously in really trying to understand that, first of all, I was now being a teacher or a mentor, but at the same time, I was a dancer before. So I need to put myself in the position of a dancer as well. So not just being like, oh, now I'm a teacher, I'm gonna demand. When I was a dancer, I probably, there was a moment that will be like, please just give me a break. I need my time. So I'm trying to like balance that because we tend to forget.
Well, I must ask before I move this along is Dancio, and you're working with Caitlin Trainer.
Dancio, where you can take class anytime, any place.
And Kaylin contacted me and he asked me to do this video for them. It's actually also all very new. There was not that many people by that time that
And
they
that
have
was
done
what,
the
2000, what would you say? Around what year was that?
2015 or 16. You know, she just introduced herself and she told me about the platform. I'm trying to do this. And I knew I was going to Puerto Rico to do this Phantom of the Opera, full production of Phantom of the Opera. So I was like, the problem is like I'm like flying out and I'm arriving to New York and I have to go and do the class right after the plane and after all these hours of performances. It was all very emotional because Phantom of the Opera over there is like a classic, and it was created in Fernando Bujones, and I was doing it, and I was, it was a little bit of like my last performances. Who knew that it was I was gonna be doing? So anyway, I did the shows. I came and I met her, and I mean, she's lovely. She has such an energy, and she's so open and so like graceful, and I mean, it was. I remember just a lot of positive energy, and
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, you know, just the typical teacher dancer that you're still worrying about everything.
Sure.
But I have Gary Pogosian, and I have Scout Forsyth, which is still current members of the American Ballet Theater, and I work with them for the studio company. So I just remember like a really fun time. They made it very easy for me, and they really provide everything easy for me to like really teach the class, and
Yeah.
everybody was so welcoming, and it was a beautiful experience.
Well, it looks like it's a lovely platform with a lot of options, and it's great to be able to hop on there anytime you need a good class and take
Hmm.
advantage. So I'm grateful that Kelly Ryan put us all in touch with each other, and I'll try to string this together. Before we wrap, do you mind if I have Camila come on and ask you some rapid fire questions?
Adagio or allegro?
Allegro.
Cats or dogs?
Cats and dogs. Both.
Bar or center?
Center.
Classical or neoclassical?
Let's say classical now.
Turns or jumps?
Jumps.
Favorite food from Spain?
Paella.
Favorite hobby outside of the studio?
Movies.
Best advice of how to land a correct double tour?
Fifth and plie.
If you were going to a desert island and could take 3 things, what would they be?
I'll take my phone. I'll take my headphones. And I'll take sunscreen.
Do you have any advice for young dancers presenting themselves in an online platform? You've seen so many. What stands out to you?
You know, clean fifths, clean tendius, clean lines, like just correct position of the arms, nothing too like exaggerated, because you know there's always going to be the times that they become professionals and everything gets a little more smooth and more open, but just like clean basic technique that it was really stands out. Like, of course, personality comes later and the expression is beautiful, but especially for competitions, we really look for that clean, traditional, basic ballet technique.
Well, have a wonderful weekend and thanks again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
If you enjoyed today's show and have an idea for an episode, contact Elizabeth Flores. I'd love to hear from you.